Hey guys, I got some Farmhouse Valentines DIYs, ideas and decor so far, and I think you guys are going to like them. I did 4 of them today, so this is a little bit of a full video, but I'm glad you're here. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots, and thank you for joining me today. So, jumping into our first DIY, we're going to use just these little ingredients here. So we're going to need a sign from the Dollar Tree. I was trying to read it right here, but didn't really say anything other than sign, generic. And then here's one of these cute little galvanized heart plaques that you can get from Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square section. Now, they come in different shapes, so this doesn't have to apply to Valentine's Day or in hearts in general. You can use one of the other shapes and fill it with all kinds of good stuff. But we're also going to be using some Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, and then these foam roses. Now, this is an 18-pack piece pack from the Dollar Tree, but the Dollar Trees by me had no other colors other than this. Like, it's a creamish white color, so I decided to buy the mega super awesome Humongoloid jumbo pack from Amazon because, you know, I wanted a variety, but, I mean, who doesn't need, what was it? I don't know, 200 of them? This is linked in my Amazon store in the link in the pinned comment below if you should want to buy the same Humongoloid ginormous pack of 200 roses. So you may see those going forward in some other DIYs, but just so you know, I bought just a few. And I was taking a gamble too because the reviews had said you aren't going to get the colors advertised. So I got some weird colors, but I got enough to make it work, so I was very happy with it. Now, we need to take this little hanger piece off it, so I applied some heat with my heat gun. It popped off pretty well. And then the rest of this is just covering everything with this black Waverly chalk paint. Now, I wanted to take that middle piece off, but then I thought, you know what? It's the back, Whitney. Calm down. It's okay. It's not a crafting emergency, so just paint it. So it took a couple coats to cover up the letters on the back, you know, the writing. But again, this is the back of the project, so I had to just, you know, woo-saw, breathe through it. And it will be okay. Also, we're going to dry brush over it anyway, so it's all good. After I did all that, so you can kind of tell right there, you know, at a diagonal, you can see some of the letters still. We're going to take our Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Cottage White, and we're going to Farmhouse-ify it. It's going to be Farmhouse-ify, which means we're going to dry brush white all over it. I don't know what it is about dry brushing, but it literally makes me happy. I see it and I get that warm, squishy craft feeling in my heart, and I can't help it. I love dry brushing everything. So, again, if this is not your jam, if this is not your cup of tea, do not dry brush. Do whatever else technique you want, or just leave it plain, a nice solid black. Now here, I'm just trying to find a good spot because, you know, this is a Dollar Tree sign, so it's going to be warped. It's going to have its uniqueness. It's going to have its, you know, one odd pea out of the whole pea pod kind of thing going on, but found the right side. Now, in order to get the galvanized to stick down, I'm going to use my Star Bond. I love this stuff. I have it linked in my Amazon shop. It is a wonderful adhesive. It is a different type of glue. So I'm using a thick adhesive and then the accelerator, which literally makes it hold down. So literally in the time it took me to put the caps back on, look at that. Hot glue would not work. E6000 would take 16 years, and I have no patience for that. But again, Star Bond is my fave so far. I'm going to stick with it for a while. So if you need some, it's in my Amazon shop, guys. It's great stuff. And it's worth the investment. It's a little bit up there for glue, but trust me, it works for everything. I have not had a problem yet with it, and I've been using it for probably about a year or so now. So this right here is Spanish moss I got at Hobby Lobby. It's a nice bright, it says chartreuse color. I love this lime green color. And what I'm going to do is we're going to fill in the shadow box area around the heart. I want it to look like this is a cute little garden type deal going on here. So on this side here that I started at the bottom, I'm adding a little bit more, but I ended up adding more on this side after the fact because as I'm filling in around the heart, you'll see here, again, I found a stick. If you've been with me for a while, my Spanish moss stick issue it's still there. I figured out Spanish moss is real. It's just like stuff that grows on trees that I have never seen since I'm a desert dweller over here in the West Coast. But Dollar Tree Spanish moss seems to be a little bit pricey for the amount you get. Now, I'm getting a decent bag at Hobby Lobby, but also the Spanish moss I get at Dollar Tree, I call it a bag of Spanish sticks because it has more sticks in it than it does moss. But long story short, tuck that all in. We're making it a nice little garden bed of moss, and I'm just pushing it down, kind of cutting off some stray stuff, not too much, tapping out the extra, and look how pretty that looks. That looks pretty by itself. I mean, you could put like little magnets in there and make it a cute little tiny message board. That would be really cute too. That literally just popped in my head. It'd be little tiny magnets and put I love you or I'm going out. So now, but we're going to fill this with cute little fuzzy foam roses. So I'm going to take out these weird color combination and I'm going to grab and just kind of test out what I wanted. I had no idea of a pattern. I didn't know if I was going to use all one color. I didn't know if I was just going to make it, just random colors, stick them all together. I was just trying to see what looked good together and what worked. And I was trying to, don't they kind of look like candy? You know, the candy you can get by the scoop at the grocery store. And like when you're a kid, you stick your hand down to your elbow in it and you're really not supposed to because your parents aren't looking. Not that I've ever done that. I'm, speaking for asking for a friend. Anyways, it's what it reminds me of little rolled up pieces of candy. It's kind of cute. I mean, looking at it now from, above view. Again, I don't have this view while I'm making it, you guys. This is my camera view, so I get to watch all this while I'm supposed to be jibber-jabbering and talking to you guys about it. But I see candy. What do you guys see? It's like a Rorschach test, right? What do you see? I see candy. Anyways, long story short, we're going to do a gradient pattern. I tried to go from red to pink, and then I decided with the colors I had, I did a peachy color, and then I ended up using the Dollar Tree ones because the Dollar Tree roses were like a cream color with a little bit of yellow to them, and the white roses that came in the Amazon pack were just too bright white for me. So you're going to see here, I decided to start at the bottom of the rose, but I turned it upside down so that I could work at a better viewing angle. And my hot glue stuck fine. The foam roses reacted very well with the hot glue, and the galvanized metal, it didn't cause any issues. None of these have come off since recording this. That thing is solid, and I love looking at it. I think it's just, when you're squishing these in, I'm getting them very close to each other. I'm using a tool to kind of pull the petals up from the roses on the previous row so that you can kind of tuck them in as close as you can. I didn't want to put them too close because you don't want them to look smushed because you can get them too close. I was kind of risking doing that in a couple places, you'll see. But you don't want them to be smushed. You just want them close enough to where, they've been there, they're talking, they're friends, because you don't sit that close to somebody unless you know them. Or at the movie theater. Like, really? You're going to sit that close to me, huh? You move my drink to this side. But again, just kind of snuggle them up to each other and you'll see how that pattern I don't know what it is about the little roses all squished together. Now, I've seen a lot of crafters and a lot of people have filled these things with roses, and I love every single version I've seen of it. I think it's just my obsession with flowers, guys. I love seeing flowers in any kind of pattern, any kind of decoration, but this turned out really well. I'm super happy. I wanted to do this from the beginning, and a lot of people jumped on it before I did, and it's fine. We are all, if nothing, mirrors of each other. So inspiration comes from many different places. And if you find an inspiration out of this video, then that makes me happy. And I'm glad that you're able to duplicate as much as possible. Because again, we are all not doing anything new here, guys. We are all taking pretty stuff and putting it in a pretty pattern and showing each other. Like, look what I did. I did this. I made this. You made this? I made this too. I think that's pretty. I like it too. Here I'm just adding in my last two roses, and look how great it is. I struggled with adding anything else to it. I was going to put maybe a bow at the top or the bottom, but nothing felt right. I just felt, Whitney, it doesn't need ribbon. It doesn't need anything else. I love how this looks on its own. What do you guys think? It looks like a cute little heart garden, like you'd sit there and you planned it all out and they grew together like that. Again, me thinking up some sort of soap opera type story for foam roses. But in any event, look how cute it is. And again, you don't have to do hearts, so this could apply to anything else. They had stars and circles. You could find a flower pattern and maybe put 2 or 3 of them in a longer box frame if you can find a longer shadow box. So anything. Or even a wooden canvas and you use the back of it. You could do this in many different shapes and forms and just use it to fit your style. Now, our second one. I love this sign. When I saw it at Dollar Tree, I was like, this doesn't need to be changed. It's so cute. But I'm going to change it. Now, this love part here, it's got glitter. I got glitter on myself. And we'll talk about what's in that bag to the right there in a second, because that's sort of what nightmares are made of. But anyways, I was able to get this love thing off. I used enough heat because, again, I'm going to eventually paint that and make it look like it's kind of like a concrete effect on it. The glitter with paint over it always looks very, very like stone. So I got that off in one piece. I was super happy. And I did pull some of the paper up a little bit because, remember, I want to leave this. I love that pink check pattern in the back. So I'm just going to use my finger sander to kind of smooth that out just a little bit. And in order to cover it, because this wasn't the plan, was to ruin the sign, I'm just going to take this gray buffalo check ribbon I got off of craftoutlet.com. It's a 50-yard roll. Why I felt I needed so much. But anyways, we're going to put this on the top of this. Now, this is what I call glitter prison. And if you see here, I'm trying not to touch it, thinking, Whitney, you're going to end up touching it. But look, look how scary that is. I bought these hearts at Dollar Tree year before last or last year, one or the other. I got 2 pink and 2 red, and I said, could you put them in their own bags? And then I put them in my car, and I'm like, please. And I'm trying like touch very minimally because you don't want the glitter on you. This thing will touch you, and I guarantee you I will have red glitter somewhere on my face or my body for probably the next 6 years. I found it on my wiener dog's nose the other day. I was like, Tootsie, where did you? Oh, that's right. I painted a heart. I painted that red heart. I'm going to see it forever. I knew what I was doing, even though I said I was going to paint it. I should have taken it in the backyard and never brought it in the house. So glitter prison still didn't work, but it's as close as I can get it. I have a bag with 2 pink hearts and a bag with 2 red hearts in it. So in any event, I wanted to make sure I got the placement correct because we're going to paint this heart, but we're going to put it on the top of the tag. So in order to make sure I'm covering up the most amount of the torn paper on the front, I put my ribbon right down the center of it. And now we are going to paint this girl with my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, and we are going to give it a nice thick coat of it. I went around all the edges. I went around every little spot. In some of the spots, because it is a foam piece, it's got a couple, it's got little divots and little pinpoint holes in it. You just kind of have to get your brush around all the edges, get your brush into the center. I didn't really do 2 coats. I did 1 full coat, and then I kind of went back and just kind of touched up some areas where I thought I could see it. I did let it fully dry. Didn't use a heat gun because it's styrofoam. I just let it dry on its own. And it didn't take long. It was like literally, I painted this before I had my dinner. I came back in an hour and a half and it was ready to go. Also, a couple pieces stick off the side of the sign. So I was just getting the back here in a little bit more area than I needed to, but just to make sure that that red glitter doesn't show on the back of the sides if it should be turned around. I wanted it to look finished. So this is what we have at the end when it's all dry. It's a very nice, matte, beautiful. I love the shape of that heart. It's like I like fat, chubby hearts, guys. They make me happy. I don't know why. I'm not really big on hearts or decorate with them, but when I have them, I like them to be like very curvy and I like to say chunky. I like chunky, fat, chunky hearts. Kind of like me. They're cute. Cute and chunky. Anyways, moving on. I knew I wanted to keep, the sign itself, again, it had that black love word on the front, which I thought was a great accent color for the pink and the red. So that's why I painted my heart black. And I'm going to place this on the front at a diagonal. Now, we are going to cover some of the backing up. Yeah, you're not going to see that pink heart too much. But my main focus to keep the sign the way it was that pink checked pattern in the background. I love that pink check. And even the hanger that Dollar Tree put on it, those pink, red, and white beads, man, they were just... Every once in a while, I come across something and I'm like, I don't really want to change this. I like it the way it is. But look how cute this is. So now that we've got that, glued into its original spot, we're just going to make a simple bow, meaning you're going to cut a piece of fabric. Here I'm my fabric ribbon, and I'm just testing out to see the size. I cut a piece, and we're making an awareness ribbon shape. If you're familiar with awareness ribbons, pinch it in the middle. Now, I decided to stop in the middle of my ribbon making or my bow making to show you I got this. This is a succulent pick from Walmart. That was 50 cents from Christmas. This one right here you can ignore because we don't use it. So yeah, look how pretty cute off to the side. Now this is from a garland I got at Hobby Lobby. It is a full 6-foot garland. It is worth the price. I got it when they're 50% off, and you can literally part the whole garland out. So this is just a piece off of that garland we're going to add in. It adds such a cute little whimsy look to things. I love using those white berries. So I have a piece of black twine that I got here off of Amazon. It's just your random black jute twine or cord, and I'm wrapping it around the center of the bow a couple times. You'll see I wrap one side over the left, going left twice, and then the other side going right twice, come up in the back, and then I tie a square knot, which is your left side over right and then right side over left. You got a square knot, won't come out. That also doesn't matter because we're going to use copious amounts of hot glue and nothing will ever come untied, nor will you be able to adjust the size of your loops. So make sure you do that before you glue it down. or you'll be tugging for no reason if it bothers you. Sometimes asymmetrical things are beautiful. Sometimes, you know, the mess ups, the oops, the unevens, the human side of it is what makes it beautiful. So remember, you do what makes your heart happy, makes your eyes happy, you're good to go. So now I'm going to take this eucalyptus pick, again, 50 cents a pop. It's all I could find at Walmart when I was there. And of course, I went the day before Christmas, so that was my own fault. I walked into that. It was my fault. I had my mouth open. I wasn't thinking. It was my fault. I should not have went there on my day before, but I got those picks for 50 cents a pop, so it was worth standing in line. My eye twitched for a little bit, but it was all right. I came home. I had something warm to drink and went to bed. That's how you cope with that. So I just added the eucalyptus down, put the bow in the center, and now I'm going to make a little tied fingers bow. So I'm wrapping the twine around my 4 fingers about 8 times for this size, and then I take another piece and I cinch it in the middle, and that's basically how you do that. So you make it's like a little bundled piece of twine looking bow thing, and I love how it adds just enough to the middle of every bow, and I'm addicted to doing that. So I will layer bows a lot of times with those wrapped finger type deal, whether it's regular jute, and this time I use the black because I think obviously it's adding a great accent to that black heart. Now I'm showing you here that I twisted these together, but I end up taking them apart because it's a little bit too big. I thought this would be good right here, but I thought it was a little bit too chunky in that one spot. So I took the 3 pieces. I used one to wrap it together to turn it to its own pick, but eventually you'll see here I'm actually clipping them apart, and I'm going to put them into the arrangement bow, the bow arrangement type area individually. So I'm just putting glue on the ends of them, and I'm tucking them under the bow and gluing them to the back of the or to the sign, and then also to the ribbon and the bow. You're gluing all these elements together so they help support each other. There's no styrofoam, so you're basically turning your ribbon into your arrangement, and that's another thing that I love doing. If you're not able to put like a whole arrangement on here because that would have been too overwhelming, then you can use your ribbon as your arrangement. Now I had to put a little bit of fire in there because the ribbon was starting to fray, which we're going to use that in another DIY. I'll show you further on in the video that stuff frays, but it frays for the good reason. Now, this little piece here, most people won't see that. Of course, I'm going to point it out to you and blatantly show you, look what I did. I didn't cover it. So in order to fix this, because it will bother me to the point that I will think about it and it will call my name from other rooms, I'm going to take another piece of that berry ribbon or berry garland that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to just glue that right straight down to the side. Now this is a 2-piece because I'm going to kind of use it to my advantage so the white berries and kind of pop against that the bottom left side of this black heart. But I'm going to apply a decent amount of little glue here. I'm going to hold it down in there. You got to let it solidify just a little bit. And then I'm going to also kind of arrange it, but I'm also going to add a couple pieces of eucalyptus to cover up the cut ends and to cover up our little spot of glue. Now, 2 pieces of eucalyptus are perfect, and I also think that nothing is overwhelming it. I didn't want to cover up too much of the heart, and I didn't want to cover up too much of the inside ribbon, but this was perfect in my opinion because it ties the arrangement that you put around your ribbon down into the rest of the actual piece, and it adds a little bit more focus to the bottom, and I couldn't be happier. This is one of the ones where, again, I don't decorate for Valentine's. It's not like a thing that I do. I love this sign. I really do. It's pink. It's beautiful. It doesn't say Happy Valentine's. Oh, and look, I made a glitter prison for my little love sign. I just thought I'd show you guys. Look, she has her own little glitter prison because you will see this pop up eventually. I'm going to keep this and I will save it and paint it and put it in another DIY in the future. So there's glitter prison. But tell me what you guys think. Now, the eucalyptus has like a little white powdery kind of finish to it. It was kind of like a Christmassy deal, but it's not glitter. It's just like a white powdery finish. So it did get on my hands, and then it got onto the heart. What I did was I just took my fingers and I kind of rubbed it all over the heart to kind of even out it. So it has more of a dusty look here. I don't even know if it's that noticeable as opposed to in the previous part of the video, but you guys tell me what you think of this. This turned out greater than I thought it would. I love the colors. I love the soft pink, and that pink check makes me so happy. You guys tell me what you think. And again, I didn't want to change the sign, but I can't go here. Look, I bought a sign. Leave it the way it is. Hang on wall. Done. Okay, so now we got 2 more DIYs. Now these are pretty quick. There's not very much to them. So we've got this laser cut word, love, and then we've got another Dollar Tree sign. Obviously, I got this during the fall season. This is when all the punkies were out, and I couldn't help but buy massive amounts of pumpkin things. And then I found these wall decals. I love their decals. I was looking for some smaller pink ones that I've seen in many, many, many times, but they didn't have any. So I grabbed these. There's lots of different options. We're going to use this pink one here. And then here's some scrapbook paper. Now this is an old, janky, fall apart. I can't remember when I got it or how I got it. I used to scrapbook like a mad woman back in the day, guys. I have so many scrapbook supplies, I couldn't tell you where that came from. But also, that doesn't end up being the one we use, because if you've seen the thumbnail and the pictures, you'll know that's not how the sign ends up. But I'll show you exactly why. It didn't turn out too well, but you tell me how you feel about it. So open the sign, take it out. We're going to keep that top piece because obviously I'm obsessed, but we're going to take 2 pieces of this Valentine themed paper here. And I noticed that the paper's pattern doesn't match up. So I was trying to figure out in what way could I still use this, because I felt I wanted it to have a black background in order for it to still work. So I'm going to put this one in the middle. I'm going to do a little bit of cutting here. Now, the refill that I'm using here on my glue, it's a glue runner from AdTech. It's a scrapbook glue runner that I get at Hobby Lobby. It's a great one. Now, the refill I'm using was broken, so that's why it looks like I'm, struggling through it. It's because I really was. I was trying to use my elbow and my hand and my foot and 2 toes to hold it down. Just ignore it, because I ended up changing out the refill because I'm like, Whitney, don't use this on camera. People are going to think, what is she doing? Like, I swear, just trying to put glue on here. I was being cheap. I didn't want to get rid of it. Okay. I was being cheap. You get them in a 2-pack. The refills come in a 2-pack, and I didn't want to chuck it. I wanted to keep it. So in any event, I got a new refill here so I can use it like a normal person on camera. Excuse me, apologies. Guys, every time, I swear, I am not that person in the movie theater that does this, I promise you. Just only when I'm recording. But anyways, I put this on here, but I wasn't happy with it. If you look here, I tried to make the paper look right, but something just wasn't looking right to me. So that's now going to be the back. That's going to be the backing. And you guys know I like finishing the back of things, so the back is pretty. It's got more pretty stuff to look at should you ever turn it around. So I went back into my stash and I found this piece of scrapbook paper that I got at Hobby Lobby a while back, and we are just going to cover this. So trace out the size you need and cut it with scissors. Simple as that. And then also we're going to use the same glue runner, as easy as pie. Now, if you pick the right paper the first time, you won't have the problem I did. And again, have to keep running back and forth to different areas and pick up different things. And does this color go with this color? Does this color? Now, we've covered that. We're putting her to the side. Now we're going to take our little laser cut word and we're going to paint it with my white Waverly chalk paint. I needed this thing to be covered white. Now I took the painstaking time to only paint the top of it, thinking that if I can be slow enough and patient enough and not get it on the sides where the laser cut part is, because laser cut words are cut by laser. So they have a darker edging to them. I was not able to successfully do that. So at some point you'll see here in a moment, after all the magic of my editing of chop, 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 because it took me a minute to do all this, I ended up painting the tops of them. You'll see me do that here. So there, yeah, I gave in and I started painting the tops and the edges and everything like that. So just paint the whole thing white, or stain it and go a different color route if this is, because this was a little tedious. But while that dries, we got the whole thing done. While it dries, I'm going to take a chip brush and I'm going to take my same white Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to dry brush or distress around the edges of the frame. I love to put white distressing on gray and black. It looks very farmhouse to me. It's one of those things that makes me happy when I see it. It literally draws my eyes to it and I just go, wow, I love the way it looks. And the reason why we make these things is to make ourselves happy. When you walk past something in your home and you see it and you go, you know what, I made that. Or even if someone else made it, if it's something that speaks to you, then that's all that matters. Now here I got a little bit too much on one side, so I took a baby wipe, literally wiped it off and re-dry brushed over it. Now, everything is dry. We are going to now take these cute little decals. So I'm going to use this pink one here. I like that one on the back. But look at these other colors. I guess this is another type of flower. We got a cream colored rose, and they're all two-sided. They open up, and then here's a purple hydrangea with some more roses. I thought about taking this flower right here because it was smaller, but then I said, no, I know what I want. In my mind, I want half of this big one to be on the side. So I kind of trying to place my word, and then I place the flower where I want it. I'm going to push down and kind of rub the edges so I can see the outline of where I want it. I'm going to cut on those lines. And because this is going in a frame, we don't have to be perfect, but I just kind of pulled it off and applied it down. And then here I'm going to take another piece of the flower that was kind of cut off from the top. I'm going to just smooth out one side here with my scissors. And then I'm going to take my my frame, kind of arrange it just to see how much leeway I have, because this wasn't a full piece. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of get that to go off to the top left a little bit, because I like the green leaves on the flower. I really like the green leaves. So use an X-Acto knife that actually has a sharp blade, because the dull blade doesn't do nothing but make it worse. Trust me, because that's what I did just now. And I ended up having to push it in. It gets pushed into the frame. You don't see it. Everything looks pretty. And then my idea was to put the letters and the word up in the frame, but I kind of was just messing around, and I liked it on the outside bottom of the frame, so it looks like it's sitting on the actual table with the frame. Now, this can be hung on the wall still. There is a sawtooth hanger on the back of it that I left in there, but I plan on using it as a tabletop display. I like it next to a tiered tray or just leaning up against a wall. And then I had a little piece of satin ribbon here. We're going to make a finger bow. I have a tutorial separately that I made that's linked in my description below. If should you want to see that slowed down, it's very, very, very informative. It's only about a 5-minute video, and with practice, it'll come to you. This one actually came pretty easy. I only had to tie it once. Normally, I'm still tying those things a couple times. But just stuck a little finger bow at the top and some black satin ribbon I had an extra piece of. Honestly, don't know where that came from. It's just a piece from my ribbon stash, but look how pretty. It's very simple, just a few, fill a few elements. And again, if you pick the right paper and you don't have that, little struggle bus fender bender, I wouldn't say it was a train wreck totally. There's just a little fender bender because I didn't like the way the paper looked. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. The black and white hearts worked out way better. I think it looks way better than it would have before. I think maybe the other stuff would have been a little bit too busy. You guys let me know what you think though. All right, now our last one. This one goes pretty quick too. So that's why these last two are pretty fast. So I'm taking this love sign from Dollar Tree. Now, if you guys remember, I did a home sign one just like this, the HOME, not too long ago. And I believe, it was for Christmas, I believe. Yeah, I used did a retro-y type deal on it with turquoise and red. Very pretty. So for this one, we're just going to distress it. See here, I'm going for this look around the edges. I'm going to take my hand sander and I'm going to go at this like it owes me money. I'm coming after it like it owes me money. And I'm just making sure all the edges are rounded out. And then I'm really roughing up the paint. I want it to look like it's a little bit aged. I don't want a clean finish to it. So you see there, I took a lot of things off. I wanted it to look aged. So we're not going to dry brush it. We've taken off enough paint that I think it looks pretty the way it is. So I'm happy with that. Now we're going to take two of these hearts. One of them is, I believe this is from Michael's and these are from Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree ones are actually kind of more shapely. So I'm going to put one of those on the top, but I'm going to use one of these ones here, the first from Michael's, as a background one. Now, the ones from Dollar Tree have a hole in them because they're considered ornaments. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to fill it with hot glue and I'm going to let it sit for a second, and I'll show you what that does so that we don't actually have to see the paint. Now, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm going to stain with the wax this back heart. I like to mix colors that most of the time some people like. I've never thought browns and grays go together. I don't know why. It's just not a palette that I would ever go for, but I love the way things that don't necessarily go together look now. I think mostly my tastes are changing, but I love the way things, if they don't look like they go together, try it. Now, this is what happens when you use hot glue. I used my finger sander after I cleaned it, or after it dried, and I kind of evened it out, and you have a pretty decent filler here. Now, I'm going to take some fuchsia colored craft paint. This is just regular acrylic paint that I got in the acrylic paint section. It's either at Walmart or Michael's, and it's a fuchsia color. It's a very pretty pink. It's not powdery, but also just, I think it lends a boldness to the light gray and the stain on the other heart. That's more of a natural type deal, and then this seems more almost like a candy type. It's not a shiny finish or a gloss at all, but it gives me that nice bright, I want to say candy coat, but it's not candy coated. I'm not sure what I'm trying to. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Do you know me? Know what I'm saying? Like, I need to see you guys nodding. Yeah, Whitney, we got it. In my mind, you're nodding. So once everything is dry, I'm trying to pick the sides that I want to use, which ones I'm going to face upward, and we're going to do a nice little dry brushing around the edges. So Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm taking a very small amount and dusting the edges. I'm not dry brushing across the whole thing. I'm only dusting the edges of the hearts just so that they kind of pop and show up, and it highlights the heart. So you can see this is all I'm doing. Look at that perfect little, oh God, it's so cute. I just can't, it was so cute. It's so cute. So Now we're going to layer the hearts. After everything's dry, again, that dry brushing, that little dusting on the edges, that doesn't take long. It's dry before you're even finished with it. It dries it as soon as you're holding it. Now, I forgot to take the labels off the back, and I noticed that when I was checking what the back looks like. That's the reason why I painted both sides of these hearts, is because you will see it from the back. I know a lot of times it doesn't matter. For me, I like to finish the backs of my projects. I want them to look nice, so these are small little steps that I take in order to do that. Should you not care, you can omit any of these steps, guys, and you do you, and we will still be happy, and it will still be the next day. Colors will still be beautiful. Food will still taste delicious. We will do what we want to do. So, as you can see here, I'm using a combination of wood glue and hot glue, and I am layering these two hearts. Now, the first one's down, but for the second pink one, we're going to put some cute little elements to the top of this. Now, I was channeling my inner Easter and spring, because we're going to see this also repeated. I'm going to take a piece of ribbon here. I cut a square out. Then I'm going to rub it in between my hands, and you'll see how I roughed it up. Now, earlier when I made the other project, I used a lighter in order to, melt the edges of the ribbon so it wouldn't do this. And now on this one, I'm purposely doing it. Now, the piece I cut earlier from that burlap wasn't big enough, so I just kind of cut a square out, and then I'm pulling pieces out to get it frayed on the edges, and then I'm going to layer those two girls together. And then here's a box of my natural buttons. It's separate from my other box of buttons I like to dig my fingers through. I have a button obsession, guys. I love buttons. I also, for some reason, love to just stick my hands in them and mess with them and listen to them. Like, it's probably one of those, like, cathartic things, like one of those satisfying videos where you watch people cut kinetic sand, or you see, I like watching the candle people. You make those really elaborate candles where they're cutting, they dip the candle in wax. I don't know, buttons are like that for me, and I am not ashamed whatsoever. I love buttons. So I grabbed a couple natural colored buttons, and I'm just applying them in two different spots. Now look how cute that is. Now, this is more country than farmhouse, but I think I like adding everything together. If it speaks to me, I have this idea, like the heart here in the top corner needs to have just a couple pieces here. Now, there's no greenery, there's no ribbon. I mean, technically there's some ribbon on it, right? There's a little piece of ribbon right there. Now, applying my glue in different places, this isn't going to lay flat completely, but on one edge, you've got enough surface coverage on the heart below it and on the left side of that O that you do not have to worry about that pink heart not touching on one side. So if depending on your placement, you're going to have the pink heart stick up just a little bit. But look how cute. Very, very little we had to do to this. It was already painted the colors. It was, gray. It was already pretty much, it had the hanger. I didn't change anything. I took off the little greenery piece on the O, added a couple hearts. I couldn't help but think it's very simple, very fast, and very effective. Look how pretty. Look how pretty she is. I love it. You guys let me know what you would do, or if you would do anything different. Now look how pretty these girls are together. Now, again, I hadn't planned on doing 4 DIYs, and I was worried that maybe the video would be too long or be a little bit too much, but I love putting these groupings together. Look how everything kind of just... It just works together. It really does. It makes me happy. I also want to just leave these displays out. Like, I just like looking at them. I love looking at the vignettes that I've put together. Sometimes I still leave them set up in my garage for a couple days so I can see them when I come in, when I drive in. Because I mean, this videos are right here. This end stuff is done in my garage. I have a piece of paper on the wall. I have a behind the scenes. I might as well just show you guys. I'll pull back the curtain so you can see Oz, the great and powerful behind the scenes. I love the way these all look together. They make me happy. Again, I'm not a Valentine's person, but I have had so much fun making these things, and that's part of it. Even if you're not someone that's going to display them, sometimes just making them as a hobby. Oh, by the way, that's a candlestick. I'm using it just to hold her up for picture purposes. But even if you're not going to actually put them out, sometimes just making them is enough therapy. It's crafting therapy, and then also giving them out as gifts is also rewarding. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for anyone who has donated to my coffee page. It helps my channel keep going, from supplies to support. I love every single one of you, whether you're able to support or not. So don't feel that you have to, but thank you so much. You guys have been wonderful. I can't thank you enough. I have farmhouse spring and just regular farmhouse stuffs planned next, and then we're going to jump into Easter, and we'll see how it goes. So with that said, thank you guys so much for joining me. I love you more than I could possibly say in words. Many hugs, happy crafting, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye for now.